Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom Live, a live stream show dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturtz, and back with me here is this guy here, Josh Harley. So welcome to the show. We had a contest last week to see how many people could share, like, comment, all of that. Actually, not like. I got to be clear on this. Likes don't count. You got to share and comment, and the same goes for today. So we're gonna see who won that, and you win a yard sign package. We have another giveaway next week, and it's gonna give you choices actually, which is exciting. But for now, would you like to have the honors?
I would love to. Like, wait, just touch it.
Just touch it. You can actually hear it now. It's probably really loud. Here it is, everybody.
What does it say?
It says Angeli Omega Pahela. I probably butchered your name. I apologize, Angeli. So we'll be reaching out to you. You win a yard sign package valued up to $200. Next week, we're going to have the yard sign available, but if you want to instead swap it out for a photo listing package, or I forgot what the third one was. It'll come back to me here in a moment. But we'll give you a couple of options. You'll see it on Facebook. Make sure you like, share, comment. And the comment for that contest, or for the yard sign package for this week, begins now. So go ahead and start commenting, sharing, all of that jazz. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you go over and do that, and hit the little notification button. That way you know when we go live. If you comment, we'll try to answer. So make sure you, if you got questions for Nick, for Josh, don't ask me anything. I don't know anything. But ask those questions in the comments, and we'll try to address as many as possible. Also, this is something we want to try here. If you know somebody within the Fathom family that is doing something great in their community, and you'd love to share their name, let us know. Send us an email or comment, and we'll reach out to them, and we'll try to feature them on the show. We'd like to do that. Just see what people are doing in the Fathom
Give them
Nation.
a shout out and thank them for what they do.
Right. So we're going to try doing that. Also, one more thing to bring you guys into this. If you have guests that you think, man, that would be really cool to have this person on the show, let us know that as well. I guess you could email marketing@fathomrealty.com, and that'll come to me, and we'll interview people that we get suggestions for if we can. Lastly here, before we bring our guest on, Nick Badalian, we have our sponsor, Go Social Agent, and thanks for sponsoring us, Go Social. If you need some help on your social media for business, these are the people to go to. They will help keep your feed populated on a regular basis. They'll help set up your business account, make it look nice. Agent-branded articles. You have access to buyer and seller handbooks. You can even set up Facebook campaigns to try to grow your presence online. So a lot of stuff that you can do with Go Social Agent. So visit GoSocialAgent.com to get started today. I think that's it. I think we got all that stuff out of the way. And again, today our guest is Nick Badalian, hailing from Odenton, Maryland. Is that the town that you're in?
That's correct.
Glad to have you on the show, Nick.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Nick, you're married and you have 2 kids, right?
I do.
Girls, boys?
I have a 8-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. A little tidbit: my son was born on my 40th birthday, so that was
Congratulations.
A neat present.
Yeah.
So be sure to so.
Congrats. You go to the gym regularly, as is clearly seen, and then
This is Photoshop, sir.
Well, you have the camera conveniently pointed away from the guns, so it's probably just to not intimidate.
You're closer in the mirror.
And you also like to play cards. What kind of cards do you like to play?
So I have a passion for playing poker, and if I stay away from, that's why I like to play some card games occasionally when I get an opportunity, when I'm not working,
Which is
or spending time with my family. So I was a soccer player at one point, but the knees have told me it's time to hang them up.
Right.
Hey, Marco, you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sure Marco does.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. So that's a little bit about you.
Know more about you?
That's all we got. I mean, he's an interesting guy, but
Well, I don't think you share the fact that he was also a firefighter. In fact,
right.
the first time I met him, he was a full-time firefighter. We never say part-time realtor. It's always dual career. but he was a incredibly successful dual career agent, and that's how we got to know you in the first place. But I'm curious, how did you go from being a firefighter to getting your license, or was it in that order?
It wasn't actually. Actually, maybe it was close. I started as a volunteer fireman as a 16-year-old, giving back to my community. And then I got my real estate license when I was 18. But I mean, what sound mind individual was going to buy from an 18-year-old? So I only passed the class and didn't do anything with my license until a few years later. But I had worked as a career firefighter for 20 years for a jurisdiction in the metropolitan area, and I actually recently retired last August.
Congratulations.
So I was eligible. Thank you.
Was that a big celebration, or was that just something intimate with your family and your friends?
I had members from my old shift that, I would spend a third of my life with the same guys and gals every third day, so they became part of my life. So I really was almost like saying goodbye to the same guys and gals for the regular basis. So that's how, they both collaborated. I started doing real estate probably in my mid-20s is when I started to get really involved into real estate.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. And also, I have to say thanks because Nick sold us our home in Maryland.
That's right.
So
he
Nick
was your realtor.
Nick was my realtor, our realtor. Yeah. So thank you for that.
And you guys are still friends?
We are. Yeah.
He did a good job.
He went to bat for us.
Not too bad, I guess.
Yeah. No, it worked out great. So, what attracted you to become a realtor at such a young age? I think you said it was 18.
Yeah, so I got my license when I was 18. I had bought my first investment property a year later. I do have some influence from my mom. My mom is the quote-unquote traditional slum landlord. Sorry, Mom. But so I got into buying rental properties a few years later, in my early 20s, after I bought and sold my first one. And I realized my interactions with the agents that were representing me, I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I know more than they do here. So that was the transition from how I got into selling and represent buyers and sellers, using my experiences with that.
It's amazing how many times I talk to a realtor and they say they decided to be a realtor because they had a bad experience with a realtor and thought, you know what, I can do this and I can do this better and I can better serve clients. And, that's a great testament to why they're in the business and why we have so many great realtors, but also suggest that there's also a lot of realtors out there that aren't that great. And so I really am glad that you decided to be a realtor, because from what I know of you and what I've seen of you, of your record, your history, and all your great reviews, that you were definitely one of the best. So I'm glad you decided to be part of our family.
Josh, that was a paid endorsement, by the way.
That was. Thanks for the card, by the way.
So I agree. There's agents out there that just, they give the producing agents a tough name, and obviously there's a lot of room to excel in this business. So,
for sure,
tough one to do that. So.
Well, that kind of actually leads me into the next question. In a previous conversation, you mentioned that real estate was like the Wild West. Can you share what you meant by that?
So, obviously, I'm a real estate agent. Also, I am the broker for Maryland and D.C. for Fathom Realty. So I see during my transactions, you'll know when you're dealing with a quality agent, because the manner in which the transactions unfold. But I find it more so than not that I am doing both sides of the transaction for the sake of my client, because obviously our client's interests are getting across the finish line, which is purchasing or selling the home. And it feels like we as real estate professionals, the barriers of entry are just too low for what is the largest transaction most Americans will ever make in their lives. I mean, they're not buying businesses or anything like that. So this is usually the largest asset they're going to ever buy. And the people representing them, I feel like the majority of our peers tend to lack in providing the professional services that this industry requires. So that's why I feel like it's the Wild West today. Anyone could get in, and it's just anyone does whatever they want. And
that's right. It's both a blessing and a curse, I believe. And I agree that the qualification to become a realtor are way too low. Unfortunately, that's the truth, and I don't think that's going to change. I do not believe that NAR is going to make it harder, because they don't care if you close a transaction or not. They're making their dues, and I know that's harsh, and I think some people at NAR are not going to like hearing that, but we do need to make it harder. That way, people who are really serious about being in this business, maybe even set a bar where you've got to close X number of deals to continue to be a realtor. Because truly, if you're only closing one home or 0 homes in a year, and you get that client, can you really provide them a good service, right? Contracts change, the industry changes, market changes, buyer and seller sentiment changes. And if you're not on top of that, it's really hard to provide that good service. On the flip side, though, one of the things I love about it being the Wild West and the fact that it's anyone can become a realtor is the fact that we've got some amazing people out there who never went to college, were a stay-at-home mom their whole life, which is one of the most admirable positions, I believe, raised their kids, the kids went off to college, and now they're starting for the first time in real estate, and they're killing it. They're able to sometimes they're making way more than their husbands are. They end up becoming the breadwinner. What a beautiful thing we have in this real estate, that there is no ceiling. It doesn't matter what color you are, male, female. It's an amazing industry to be in. So I like the fact that it's Wild West for that reason as well. I don't mean to jump all over it, but I love the fact you said that. So it is both a good thing and a bad thing for sure.
And I think for our agents throughout Fathom, we need to relish in that fact that the competition's weak. Or do you want to be in an industry where everyone is a 10 or 11? That just squeezes the margins. And just with the quality of agents that are so, it's like this, and our competition's weak. So take advantage of it. What industry can you have unlimited sales potential and unlimited income potential with weak competition?
Right.
The person you need to blame in the mirror is you for not succeeding in real estate using this platform of Fathom Realty to help springboard your career into a 6 or 7 figure income stream. It's just unbelievable.
So it's interesting. I know several CEOs who make, $200,000 a year, fantastic income, but I know realtors who've been in the business for 2 years who are making $300,000 and $400,000 a year. They're not even the CEO. Of course, the CEO of a little business, but.
Yeah, I agree. I tell some of the new agents, I said, tell me how much you want to make. And I'll say, how are you going to do it? That's the question. How will you make it done? Because if you told me next year you want to make $650,000, I'm not going to bat an eye. I want to believe that's very possible in this industry. How are you going to do it? That's the other question, right? It can be done in this business. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because there are people doing it.
So why then do you think that there's such a high degree of dropout? What makes the difference between the agents that stick it out and are successful?
So I would say this. Real estate is like owning a business. It is a business, right? If you were to open a shoe store tomorrow, you would have to rent a space. You have to buy inventory. You have to hire someone to help staff the store. And that's before you make a nickel. In this business, you can get in my area, it's about $2,000 a year to be a licensed realtor. That is your ticket to a 6 or 7 figure income. What sort of business allows you for a few grand to make such huge returns on the money?
Amen.
So that is, sorry.
That's why you're successful.
Yeah, that's right. You're a busy guy.
Answer your phone. That would be my biggest key to success, is answer the phone, which I'm failing right here.
Yeah.
So
hopefully you've got someone there who can answer it for you. I think you called her out to Melissa last time. So pass that phone off. So even as a dual career, I know you're not dual career now, but you were, but even as a dual career agent, you were still very, very high producing. What do you attribute to your success?
I just 7 days a week. So basically there were no days off. One of the luxuries I had with being in the fire department is I worked a shift schedule. So I'd work 1 day on and 2 days off, and it was consistent for years out. So at some point the last few years, I was paying friends of mine to work for me at the firehouse so I could go work in the real estate office or run appointments. Or I would tell my clients, I would say, hey, I'm booked on Wednesday. I can do Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. So I provided options that seemed to be open, because if you're a busy agent, it's not unrealistic that you're booked on a certain day. So that's how I kind of was able to navigate that, but it forced me to work 7 days a week.
I'm actually glad you brought that point up. A lot of times agents, even if you've got something with the family, a lot of times you feel like when a client says, I want to meet now, you move heaven and earth to meet right now. It's okay to say to your client, I can't meet right now, but I can meet here or here. Give them some options. But
Correct.
you don't have to bend over backwards. And sometimes when you stay strong, they respect you for it. They think, well, obviously they're a very successful agent. They can't meet me in my
The
whim.
drop of a hat.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can meet them at the drop of a hat, sometimes that's a red flag. So
It is. It is one of the hard challenges, and I face it too as well. The tail sometimes wags the dog, right?
Yes.
You have this desire to be assistants and be ready because they're at their excited moment to do X, Y, and Z. It is a challenge. I do have to work on it as myself. My wife, we definitely have closed off the Sunday, so I get the real nasty stink eye if I have to work on something. So
Good for her.
close out. So she's really put the hammer down on that. So
maybe birthdays too. I don't know.
right, birthdays, right. I try to excuse myself, but now that I have a team, I'm able to at least farm out some of the opportunities that I'm passing on or not unable to work on. So
For sure.
So just for our viewers' perspective, then, how many deals did you close last year?
I did a total of 80 units, 66 home sales, buy and sells, and I had like 14 leases. So
And what are you hoping to do this year?
actually, I think I'll be down this year, to be honest with you. So what I'm seeing is, what I'm seeing personally is I'm giving more opportunities that I would normally capture for myself away to my team. So as if we're going to talk about teams or how that transition, before I was 100% agent doing 100% of my own business. And as I shifted, I'm trying to bring my team along, which means I'm giving up opportunities that I would normally capture for myself and giving it to them. And hopefully I can bring the magical work-life balance into play, which I think is a unicorn. But that's what I'm trying to work out, and that's why my personal sides will be down this year, I think.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because a lot of people think that they're going to build a team, maintain the level of production they were doing before, and also grow that team at the same time. But what really happens is sometimes you have to take a step back to be able to take 2 steps forward. And so you have to recognize that you may take a little bit of income, but long term you're going to be better off for it. So I do want to talk about teams at some point. I know we've talked to a lot of people in the past. A lot of our most successful agents, we bring them on because they're very successful agents, but they've all kind of followed that same path. At some point, they start building a team. So I do want to talk about that at some point as well. In the meantime, you talked about 66 sales. Where do you generate most of your personal business from? Not the business you give your team, but your business.
So, obviously, I've been a licensed realtor and a broker for now 15 years. I have built a book of business. Every year I've done more. I've strengthened a lot of my referral relationships. I've built some good relationships with builders. I've had investors that help because they become volume, they become transaction counts, right? So some of my people or some people will look at it like, oh, I'm taking less of a commission, or I may restructure for a volume client. But you have to look at it. What is the value of having the listing? So listings are the crux of our business. It's very key that we have those because those are the opportunities to generate leads or unknown buyers or sellers to that listing. And I think I've been able to capture that by my increased listing count through builders, my own sphere, my own past clients, and that has springboarded my numbers.
Yeah.
So
you brought up an interesting point. A lot of people will tell me they love to work with buyers, but if you really want to be a top agent, I've never met a top agent. I'm sure they exist, but I've never met a top agent that wasn't a listing agent. That was primary most of their business. You can definitely grow a lot of business, but I can tell you right now, if you're working with 3 to 4 buyers a month, you're gonna start
so much time.
You're only so much time, right? You're showing homes. You start pulling your hair out, or it's just going to fall out on its own. It's very stressful, or it's going to go gray. At the same time, if you're working with 3 to 4 sellers per month, that's very easy to do. So you could literally do 3. Yeah.
Different challenges working with sellers. So I would say for our agents out there, it's key to take those opportunities when you have the sellers to really leverage them to advance either helping your team or yourself lead generate, because that's the bait that brings in prospective buyers on the syndicated websites that that are marketing, like Zillow, Realtor.com, all those sites. Consumers at certain points of their whenever they feel like they're going to enter into the space, they're going to be looking at homes. So that is a way to meet people by using those assets, which are sellers. We're helping them sell, but we're also helping them promote our business via going to neighbors, selling, getting additional sellers, or getting those opportunities for buyer leads. So,
For sure.
So now you do have a team now. How do you structure your team? Because we've talked to some people, and also how do you provide them leads? We've talked to some that sort of teach people how to generate themselves, and others have found a lot more success in providing leads. So where are you on that spectrum, or do you do something different?
So I do have a team, and they consist of about 5 people, and it started with one, and he became a full-time agent, and I was able to provide him opportunities through my listings, my rental listings. Every opportunity that came through the door, I was feeding that buyer's agent, and now they're a full-time agent. They don't, so the structure as a team leader is like, you got to see what is your value. It's always a value proposition. Right. It's hard to work in the Fathom model. It's 100% brokerage. The agent's going to say, well, why am I giving up X when I can make 100%? Well, there's a reason why you're giving up part of your commission to work with me, because there's opportunities that you don't get by not, if they weren't working with me. So I always tell people 100% of zero is still zero.
Right.
So, and the biggest challenge for agents is that they're unable to lead generate, or I find the biggest hurdle for agents to overcome is, how do I get the business? There's no storefront. There's, if I sit in home and have a home office, well, I don't see anyone banging down the back door of your basement office to say, hey, I'm looking for a realtor. It just doesn't work that way. So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah.
So I do.
Right. So you do have to have a very solid value proposition. That value exchange is very key for when you say to an agent, I'm going to give you 50%. You're right. They're saying, well, I can make 100%. But at the same time, you're bringing potentially an agent who's closing 6 to 10 homes a year on their own. 6 to 10 homes a year at 100% is great, but it's not nearly as much as 30 or 40 homes per year on a team, even at 50%. Right. And then on top of that, what else are you providing your team besides the leads?
Yeah, so talk about value-added proposition. I have a full-time salaried assistant that helps me all my transactions, helps me with the brokerage, helps my teammates, and also helps the brokerage. So they get that component as well. So some of the tools that I use, I share with them that they don't have. There are costs to doing this business. There's no way around it. You have to spend money to make money in this business, folks. There's just no way around it. The keys will be is how well you spend your money, or how well you get your return on investment, and that's always the business person's challenge, right? That's, how do I get the max value for my dollar here? And we're all seeking that out, and so that's kind of like where I am with it. That doesn't mean everyone needs assistant, and we eventually build that way. I didn't start with 5 agents. I started with 1, and then 1 turned into 2, and that's how it works. And I've had team members that left because they started to evaluate their business model, and the value added proposition of working with me wasn't enough because their personal business started to overcome what they could benefit working with me.
Sure.
So that's going to happen in this industry. So
at that point, you celebrate them and let them move on. You replace
correct.
them. That's good for everybody.
It is.
Sure. You talked about the value proposition. I think that's really, really key. Understanding what that is, and really helping the agents understand that what that is as well. You mentioned earlier that we've seen a lot of different ways that people build teams through just the pure mentorship or through the lead side. I know from my own experience that when you build a team around leads, you rarely lose the agents because they get hooked on your crack, right? They stay because they are
handcuffs.
That's right. Golden crack, handcuffs. I don't know. They both sound negative, but it works, and it's good for them. It's good for you, but it's got to be structured right. So I know you mentioned that most of your business is generated from your sphere. Unfortunately, you can't build your agent's sphere. So I'm curious to know what lead sources are you using to generate business for your agents?
Okay, I'm going to use the dirty word.
Do it, do it, do it.
Zillow. I'm a believer of Zillow. It is the watering hole that the consumer knows best. That's the most identifiable watering hole for consumers that are entering into or considering the space. Um, I feel like I would say I've been with Zillow for 7 or 8 years now, maybe even longer than that. And then the last year, from a team standpoint, I want to say their platform retooling has been exceptional, or it's been pretty much exceptional, far better than it's been in years past. So I do spend a fair bit of change. So leverage your business. We talked about leveraging your business. If you have a lender out there or a business partner that you give opportunities to, benefit from them. They will help you succeed by adding more admin. They're not trying to put money in your pocket. You're trying to grow your business, because by growing your business, you're going to help grow their business. So one, I do like Zillow. I do offer all those leads to my team. I also do KV Core, which is a platform we use at Fathom, and I do a lot of core boosts. So I feel like the cost of the lead is much lower. So it's 60 to $100. You get 15 to 25 leads, and there are definitely opportunities there that you can dole out. So not every lead has to turn into gold, and not every internet lead will turn into gold. It's just so it's a contact sport. You need more contacts to, get opportunities to close deals. And for a team leader, someone should consider that. You don't need to be spending $200 a lead, because you can go broke on that. So you sprinkle and you spread your lead sources to provide opportunities, because an opportunity is an opportunity is an opportunity. And so that's what I've done successfully. I use my listings to leverage for open houses. I think open houses, and I believe, are a good opportunity for agents to meet unrepresented buyers. And that's the key. They're starting off their process. They're going out to beautiful Saturday. They meet you. They like you. You engage in conversation. One of the key percentages I stress to my agents is most people will work 7% of the time with the first person they meet or kind of engage with. That's a pretty high percentage there, folks. So if you don't answer the phone and then you don't call or engage or create that relationship, you're missing out on a real big number there. So those are the kind of the three big things I offer for my team. And then I do rentals. So rentals, I believe, are a big source of lead opportunities for my guys as well.
I actually want to step back for a second. You talked about you need to be willing to invest in your business. And I meet a lot of agents. I've heard this several times. In fact, I heard it just last week that said that, well, your sphere is free. Well, no, it's not. I mean, you can use, if you really believe that your sphere is free, then you're probably only getting 3 or 4 homes from your sphere. If you're willing to invest in your sphere, I can show you how to generate 30, 40 homes per year from your sphere, but it's going to cost money to be able to do that. You've got to be able to stay in front of your people. But on that same note, you've obviously generated a lot of business from your sphere. Are you teaching your agents on your team, as well as the agents in your district, on how to generate business from their sphere as well?
So I do believe that the Brian Buffini way works. There's no question. That is you're going to get your largest return on your investment, your cash or financial investment, and time. Time is an investment as well. So that is by far the best return on your investment. I am teaching my guys to not. One of the big things I did not do when I was early in my career was manage my book of business. I don't think personally I'm not a very good follow-up guy. Like, I'm good at the working the deal, following up on the leads right there, but I'll touch base with you twice a year with magnets and stuff like that, but I have hundreds of clients and it's no excuse. It doesn't matter. It's like I should be working them and I should never spend a nickel on advertising. But I would say don't do what I do it as I say. You know what I mean? So yes, I think working your sphere, identifying the key people that you've done business with and they really enjoyed it, they can be huge resources for you. And I try to stress that to those guys, but they're hooked on the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
They do like the instinct, they like the phone rang. Oh, by the way, I'm showing houses. Oh, by the way, we're close to running an offer. They like that. And as a team leader, that's probably good.
Yes.
So then, do you set goals for your team members, production goals, and how do you do that? How many closings do you expect from them each year?
So one of my key players probably is at like 16, 17 deals already this year. He's got like 2, 4, 5 on the books already for this month and the next month. So I always, depending on their level, I want them to get anywhere from 12 to 14 deals a year. And I want it to be a balance. I don't want it to all come from me. I mean, if it does, it does. But when they work their sphere, that becomes for the team leader found money to some extent, right? Even if it's a sphere of influence deal, which I have a structure that provides increased financial incentive for sphere of influence deals. Okay, I think that generating that additional transaction benefits me and also benefits my team member because they're making more money. So.
For sure.
So yes, 12 is what I go 12, which is one a month, which I don't think is unreasonable. It's still a fair salary for an agent. Our price points here in Maryland are higher, but everything else, the cost of living is just higher. You remember, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So, but I always tell guys, if you don't make $100,000 in this job, you stink. Well, I use different words, but you stink.
Yeah. In your market. I mean, in this market, you have to close a lot of business to make $100,000.
Yeah,
so I guess that really depends. So
so right here, like the average home sale is 300,000 to 400,000. So,
right.
And we're not getting 3% here. Most of the places aren't. It's a plus, but we're getting 2.5 here. That's predominant buy comp here. So
we're seeing a lot of that on the East Coast. In fact, a lot of our markets are kind of moving towards that 5%. So we have some markets where it's 3% for the listing agent and 2% for the buyer's agent. So it's unique. Not every market's the same. Obviously, we won't get too much into price fixing. That's not what we're talking about. But from this level where I sit, I can kind of see what is happening on average, and it is amazing. We're starting to see that downward pressure on the listing.
Hello.
Oh, we lose you?
Sorry.
Are you answering the phone?
There's someone just walked into the door. I wasn't sure if we're getting mugged or, It's one of my teammates who was out hopefully showing and closing a house today.
I don't know that I'd want to walk in there and mug you, dude. You're twice my size. I'm curious though.
That's why he works out at the gym every day.
Right.
You just never know in Odenton there.
No. Hey, really quick. Why did you decide to build a team in the first place?
So, there's only so many hours in a day. That's what it boiled down to. And, I was running down leads. I did not sleep. I did all the things that make successful agents successful. I answered the phone. I want to stress this again, guys. Answer the phone. That will be the code for this conversation. If you answer the phone, you will make money. Anyway, so I had opportunities that were falling to the wayside that I could not capitalize, and that's why I was able to bring in my first buyer's agent, which took the overflow calls and took leads that I would probably at some point have to say, well, I can't run this, and it would just fall to the wayside. And then they were able to generate opportunities, which turned into money for both of us. So that's how I knew it was time to expand the team, and that's how it started with one.
Very good. So at what point do you think an agent should consider building a team? I mean, I know a lot of people talk about it. I've seen agents who are closing 6 homes a year talking about it, and I'm thinking, you got some time before you need to think about that. But what do you think someone should be doing?
I think when you feel like you're not able to when you're doing a consistent business. I know our business can be like this, and the goal is to have it more smoothed out. I think once you get to the point where you're having opportunities that tend to get not followed up by you, or you're like, I'm too busy for this, then it's time to really kind of take on that person, take them on as a mentor, provide them the opportunities. Because the one thing that the real estate course does not provide for you is how to sell real estate, right? It doesn't teach you about the contracts. It doesn't teach you about home inspections. So bringing someone along and also providing opportunities, which are leads that you're now following up with, that's the recipe to when you can really start, because now you're leveraging two people's time on the chances you have, which produces more revenue, and that's how you grow. So
you'd mentioned earlier that you generate leads through rental properties. That's something we haven't heard yet on the rental properties that you own or that you manage. That's something we haven't heard about yet on any of our shows. So I'm curious what that looks like.
So we have I have a separate company unrelated to Fathom that has a property management. We live in an area that's close to a military base, so we always have people coming in and out of the area 2-3 years. So what we do is we don't turn down rental listings. I had an agent say to me, I just don't do rentals. And I'm like, I love rentals. Rentals are people that are either starting off, that are looking to get into place. No one is living in the woods. And those are opportunities for my buyer's agents to meet people and then follow up with them. Because then when they're ready to buy or move out of the rental, they turn into the buy opportunity. Remember the first time you meet someone? And it's 70%. It's always that 70% number I'm always focusing on. But those opportunities aren't being challenged by other real estate agents. Because a lot of real estate agents aren't going for, because Zillow will just send the lead out to the listing agent. They're not selling that to agents that are looking for buy leads. They dismiss them. So those are free leads to the listing agent. So having rentals generates enormous amount of opportunities. And yes, some of them are junk, but it gives them, I mean, in my area, rentals are anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month is what a rental will be for our area, which is $1,000 to $1,500 a month for our simple math purposes. But that person renting between $2,000 and $3,000 a month will eventually buy a $350,000 to $500,000 house. Where else will you meet someone that's early in the process? And that gives your buyer's agent the opportunity to follow up, create the relationship. Thank you, sir. Create the relationship that turns into a buy, a client for life. So that's why I stress having rentals. It's a great free generator.
You mentioned too that once in a while you get somebody who they just think they have to rent because of their situation and
don't know any better.
They don't know any better. You look at their finances and you say, well, you could buy a home.
I mean, going back, it's $2,000 to $3,000 a month for a rental here, and if credit is the driver of some of these applicants, that you can't do much with a 550 person without 10%. So in our area, if they're showing me a 680 or a 640, they may not know. They may think that I got to put 20% down. Well, you really don't, and that's an educating point, which becomes, as a real estate agent, a value-added proposition to the client because they may not have known.
Right.
And now they're saying, wow, Nick, you mean I only need $7,000? Or, hey, I didn't know that this program existed. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't rent. Boom, you just got yourself a buy opportunity, which is now, instead of $1,000 or $1,500 a month, you're making $75, and you make another contact. And that contact could be another referral source for you. So it's all about bringing people into the real estate's a contact sport. We need as many contacts as possible. And the more contacts you have, the more opportunities someone's going to send you an opportunity. And that's how you can grow your business for life here.
Sure. So as you're training your team, and obviously you've got a big group with Fathom as well. I mean, you're the district director for that market. As you're training new agents and training your team members, what's an area that you find that every agent really needs to know or master in order to be successful?
I think, we only add names, dates. I mean, I get a lot of clients, a lot of my agents just sending the contract out. That irritates me to no end, because the contract that is your tool as a real estate agent. We're here to educate and guide and help the consumer understand what they're getting into. Yes, they want to buy the house. I get it. But there are, I find a lot of agents don't understand the contract. And that's just like the basics. We're not there to just open the door.
Sure.
Call Redfin to do that. Sorry, am I allowed to point that out? I guess. But
You
you know,
said it. We didn't say it.
sorry. But we're not just opening doors for people. We're providing a service, a value-added service, and in the end, when your client will know when they buy the house, they're going to talk about the experience. What sort of experience did they have with Josh? What sort of experience did they have with Nick? And that's going to help down the line.
Sure.
Did I answer the question? Did I walk around that?
You did. But one of the things that we talked about in the past, and one of the things that I think you've been very, very good at is processes. Understanding how to create those processes. Is that anything you can touch on? It's an area a lot of people fail.
Yes, and I as well have failed. It is something that you need to get in order. It will always be a work in progress, okay? But you definitely need a foundation. So imagine building a house. You don't build it with the roof first, okay? You build your foundation of your business, which is having good processes. So when you do it yourself in a real estate transaction, it's repetitive. If we do the same thing over, it becomes muscle memory, okay? And having a good process will help you scale, which is what eventually, if you want to grow your team and increase your revenue, you're going to need processes so you can scale. That's the biggest challenge, is what agents don't do. I had a problem with it. I still do. I'm always tweaking. I'm always looking for a better way. But the demons are in the details. Yeah. The demons are in the details.
Another area I see a lot is just consistency, or lack thereof would be more accurate. It's so important to be consistent. And so what happens a lot is you'll sit there and you'll market, and then you'll be able to generate that buyer or that seller, and you'll focus all your attention on working with that buyer or seller. And then ultimately what happens, that deal closes and you find yourself starting over. Marketing. So you've got this experience going up and down because you're not consistent. So even when you're neck deep or knee deep in working with a client, you should always be consistently marketing and working with your sphere and touching and making sure that there's always a constant pipeline. I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
Absolutely. I try to apply it as this. I see a lot of agents, they'll do the rush of business, March to July, August, through November, and then they're like, oh, I'm shutting it down. No. We're not shutting it down ever. When people are shutting it down, you need to be ramping it up. That's right. Because when they're starting in January and December, and you'll be feasting from all the labor you do. It's just like a farmer. A farmer doesn't drop a seed in the ground and all of a sudden it's a crop. He works all year, he or she works all year to develop it, and they're working at different levels. So we're never off in this game. You're just never off. That's the one thing I have a challenge with this business. If you're going to be consistent and really run this as a business, you definitely need to be working at it all the time. And when people are stepping off the gas, you need to be stepping on the gas.
That's right.
You'd mentioned before, I wish I would have, or I wish I could be better at something. And this is the nasty question that we ask every time, but it really is helpful. If you could go back, what would you do differently? And maybe another way, what would you tell a younger agent? Don't do this, not like I did. What would you say?
Work your book. Every client is that referral source. And not buying leads is not the best way to build your business. It's just a lot of people don't have that ability to spend that much money. So I would say focus on your processes, focus on your past clients, and make sure you touch on them, because they will feed you for a lifetime, versus the cheap and easy buy a lead and that's it, because that's an expensive way to build your business. So I would be better at doing that, servicing my past clients. I don't, I have agents that do mixers and stuff like that, and I see them on Facebook hosting those things, and I cringe. I'm like, well, there's another thing I'm not doing to really, help my business. So I know that's where my weaknesses are. I don't feel like I'm built that way, but. What you should do the things that don't make you feel comfortable, because you get comfortable in doing your way. That your way may be the wrong way, so you have to step out of your comfort zone, and that's really the challenge. And that's really where you're kind of break the ceiling for your business.
So be perpetually uncomfortable. That makes
Correct.
sense.
Correct.
You talked about working your sphere. As a brand new agent, though, sometimes you don't have you've got a sphere, but you haven't been working it long enough, nurturing it, meeting with people long enough it takes time. In other words, if that's your whole focus, sometimes it takes a year to really build that sphere up to where it's producing regularly. It's funny. I'll tell you a story. We have a competitor. I won't name who he is, but he came into one of his meetings and asked the question, "How many people here do open houses?" And a couple agents raised their hand, and he said, "Everyone look at them. They're idiots." And I'm shocked. Now, one of those agents ended up leaving, coming to us. That's how I heard the story, because he is closing probably 8 to 10 homes a year from his open houses he was doing. But I bring that up. It's funny because a lot of people think that open houses can't be successful, but if they're done right, they can be very successful. So I would encourage every brand new agent to be posting out there on our Facebook masterminds or anywhere else asking, "Hey, can I hold an open house for you?" You should be doing that every single weekend until you are able to build your sphere to be consistent. Work those open houses.
It's just time.
Yeah, it's time. Commit the time. Put the time in. You will get business from it. You won't get business every single time, but it's worth it because you will generate business from it.
Your Facebook post regarding 5 steps,
Yes,
was very good. And this is another do as I say, not as I do. I didn't believe in open houses personally. Nick Badalian as a real estate agent. But if I can go back in time, if I wanted to make sure that my opportunities were higher, I would have gone back and done open houses. I think for agents to do open houses, it's twofold, right? People always say, well, it's only nosy neighbors that come by. Well, nosy neighbors own houses, folks.
that's right.
So if you get to speak with them and, if you generate a relationship, they may eventually want to sell. And if you follow up with that person and you create the relationship from the open house, that will yield you down the road. It's all about contact points. So, it's not only buyers, it's also sellers too. So remember that when you're out there doing open houses, you're out there to shake hands, go to the neighbor's house. Hey, I'm Nick Badalian. I'm doing this open house over here. I just wanted to let you know there may be people coming by. Oh, really? What's it going for? Well, now we have a conversation. Now you're starting to create a dialogue. That dialogue will be key because maybe they're not thinking about selling a house for a couple of years. But if you send them a Christmas card or a holiday card, or if you send them the baseball magnet, and you're like, "Hey, thanks for talking to me the other day. We sold the house right next to your neighbor." They're like, "Oh, he was a nice guy," and I get this little card from him, and there's the recipe book. All those little things. Those are the details of the business that probably don't take much. It doesn't take a lot of money. It takes a little bit of effort, but the yield is tremendous. So remember that. Don't do what I did. I do open houses.
Yeah, I know we're getting ready to close, but one of the things I want to tell you, the first time I saw your name written, I'm like, he has an awesome name. I thought, Badalian. That is so awesome. I was actually disappointed, I'll be honest, when I heard your name pronounced.
You need to change that.
That's right.
Oh, no.
That'd be so cool.
In high school sports, I would be like, one time they called me Nick Battle Axe. I'm like, where'd the X come from? My name is Butcher.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate taking the time.
Yeah, we really do. Say hi to the East Coast. Somebody teased me about how moving from Maryland down to Texas, how we have the heat, but you guys have had it really bad this summer, have you not?
It's been warm. I mean, I'm in an air-conditioned space, so I'm inside right now, so I don't know. But my family tells me that the pool is nice and cool and hot.
All right, good. We'll go jump in the pool sometime then.
I'll try.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
For our viewers, again, we want to remind you that Fathom offers 100% commission and the tools designed for your success. They work for you. You don't work for them, and that's the key there. You get stock with every transaction. KV Core, as Nick mentioned, truly affordable healthcare, paperless transaction support. You get support, one-on-one support with the local district director and many other levels of support.
What else is there?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, actually. There's so much. So visit fathomcareers.com to learn more. Reach out to somebody in your area, and they would love to talk with you. For next week, our guest is Victoria Rogers. Victoria Rogers, she's an author, realtor, luxury home marketing specialist, life coach. and a former Hollywood agent. So that's pretty cool. She enjoys helping clients buy and sell their luxury homes. She's a certified luxury home marketing specialist. I think I might have said that already. Recognized by D Magazine as the Dallas-Fort Worth Best Real Estate Agent. So she's got a lot of cool stuff to share. Looking forward to having her on next week. And again, we're going to give you options for your prize. And I remember the third one now. We had a photo package. I shouldn't listen because then I'll forget when I get there. Photo package, yard sign, or on-target transaction coordination for a single transaction if they're in your area. So that's where you kind of get those options.
We should also add some social media marketing in there.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Why not? We'll throw it in there. So get to sharing and commenting for next week's episode. We'll see you then at 1:30 next Wednesday.
Thank you.